This is going to be a very easy tutorial on how to use DaVinci Resolve 18 for beginners. I'm going to show you where all the tools are and what you can do to start working on your project right away, from bringing in media, editing, changing the colors, bringing some brightness, transitions, how to bring in some text, and how to export your video. Everything will be available in a very easy manner so you can start working on your project right away. So let's jump on DaVinci Resolve and see what it's all about. When you open DaVinci Resolve, the first thing you see is the project manager. In there is everything about all the projects you may have had created in the past. If it's the first time you're using it, it will be empty. So you can go here to new project, and we're gonna call it murals, and I just created a project. There is the main interface. The most important things here are the pages that are available at the bottom of your screen. This is for media, and it changes the entire interface every time you change pages. This is to cut. This is edit. This is fusion. This is where you're going to do all your visual effects, animations, and things of that nature. This is where you would be doing your color correction. This is Fairlight, which is where you will do your audio corrections, and Deliver is where you will export your project once you're done. So we're going to go directly into the edit. Your screen probably looks like that. It may look slightly different because depending on what you click or don't click, things will be or will not be there. So the first thing we're going to do is import some media. The fastest way to import media is to open your Finder and drag your project directly in the timeline. It's immediately asking if you want to change your project frame rate. What this is asking is for whatever is on the timeline to match what you filmed. If it's the root of your video, you may want to change it so that the timeline matches exactly the way you filmed your content. It also opened the media pool here. If I click on media pool, it closes it. If I click on effects, it opens the effects. If I click again, it closes the effects. And if I open the sound library, it opens the sound library. You probably are not seeing it like this if you have not taken the time to upload the sound library available for free from DaVinci Resolve. If you have not done so, check out my video. You have the link right here. I show you exactly how to bring in the sound library as well as delete it, because in occasions you may want to get rid of it and it's not an easy thing to do unless you know how. So I also show how you can delete the sound library from DaVinci Resolve. If you click here and press the three little stars, now you get access to all the sound that I have. If I want to move this to my timeline, I just drag it, and you see how it creates a timeline, a new audio layer right behind my first audio layer. If I want to drag the folder, I can bring the folder here, and now everything is coming. I'm gonna pick an image and bring it here in the timeline. It immediately creates a new video file. Now I'm going to remove the media pool. Now, just so you see, in the media pool, every image I click on, I can view them here. If I don't want that screen, you can come here and go to single view mode, and it only shows you the source viewer, which is what your timeline is. So we're going to close the media pool. Another important thing is if you have a computer that may be dragging or lagging, it's really important to make sure that you have the preferred proxies so that it creates a smaller version of your files, so your computer is not always working on high resolution, and it makes it a lot faster. You also want to come here to playback, use optimize media if available, and proxy handling, prefer proxies. And that will really help with the engine of your software and makes things a lot easier for you to read and render in the back. Now you see this mixer here is my audio, so that when I play, if I press the space button, it plays my file. I have the audio level right here. You can remove the mixer by clicking here, and you can bring the inspector by clicking here. And we'll look at the inspector a little bit later, but it has a lot of information about your files right here. And also, if you open the inspector and you click on that little box, it expands the inspector above your timelines. That's useful when you are going to edit your videos. We're going to start now by looking carefully at the timeline. This is where all the magic happens. I am in the edit page, and so everything I want to do is going to be done here. So first of all, if you want to change the height of your video to see it better, all you do is you drag it from the side here. You can do the same thing with the second layer and every layer after that. You can do the same thing on the audio layer, and so you see it better that way. Currently, everything is visible in my timeline. If I click on the little detail zoom, it's going to bring it closer to where I was selected on the timeline. I can also click here on the custom zoom and move it with the plus and minus. If I click back on the full extent zoom, it brings everything back compact into my timeline so that you get to see everything. Another way to do it is with shortcuts. You press Command plus and Command minus, which I use quite a lot. Also, if I come here in the timeline and press the letter I on my keyboard, it will create an in point, and if I go at this location and press O, it creates an out point in my timeline. In order to remove the in and out points, you need to go to Mark Clear In and Out, or Option X. Now, also on the timeline, you can create a marker. So if I am in the timeline and nothing is selected, I can press M on my keyboard and press again, and it opens the marker, and then I can name it Chapter 1. Now that's really useful if you're going to do a YouTube video. It actually creates the chapters for you, or if you want to export it as separate videos, it also gives you the opportunity to do that. You can add notes on your marker, you can add keywords, and you can also give it a duration, and you can remove the marker. Now the marker was attached to my timeline. You can also bring in the marker by clicking on this little design right here, and it does the exact same thing, and then you press on the marker, double click, and it does the same thing. I'm going to remove that marker because usually what you want to do is put the marker on your clips so that as you start editing your work, it will change locations, and you don't want to lose your marker and to have it no longer attached to that particular video. So usually you put the marker on the video itself. So now that it's selected, if I press M, you see the marker is directly on the video. So I'm going to call it Chapter 1, and I'm going to make it yellow, and I'm done. And now if I move the file, you see the marker does not stay on the timeline, it moves with the clip itself. If you want to modify your timeline settings, you can come to File, Project Settings, and here you have access to the timeline resolution, your frames per second, your frame rate, and a lot of other things that you can modify here. Once you're done, you press Save. Now we are going to close the inspector and concentrate a little bit on the timeline and the tools that the timeline offers. This is currently the selection tool, and you press A to access it. The other tool you will need is B for blade, which is that blade design that you see here. You can click on that and it creates a blade, and from here you can cut your timeline in different locations. Press A again and go back to the selection tool, and from here you trim your clips. So you can trim in either way you want. Now if you want to bring the other video this way, there is a much faster way to do this. Instead of doing it this way, you're going to use the trim tool, and so when you trim, you see how it brings all the other clips with it, which is a lot better. It saves you a lot of time. You go to the middle, you can change the trim here. If you want to change the trim location only on the video file but not on the audio file, you use the trim tool by pressing Alt, and it detaches momentarily the audio with the video, and you can do that, and it's really helpful in certain situations. Now I'm going to go back to the selection tool and show you that clip and how I can move it in the timeline. I can also bring it up and change location. I can move everything fairly easily in the timeline. Do you see how it's kind of like snapping at the other clip when I bring it closer? That's because I have snapping selected on my timeline. It's on. If I don't have snapping on, it no longer snaps to other clips, and it makes it a little different to move things around. I actually do use snapping most of the time so that I can easily click the clips right next to one another. It also works with the line that you can easily move from one edit to the next. I'm going to press Command plus to bring it closer. You can see here that if I bring my mouse on the audio waveform, it actually allows me to change the volume. And I'm going to bring in the mixer for that by clicking on mixer, and it brings in the mixer so that, as you can see, if I play here, this is all red. It's not good. But if I bring it here, I can bring down the volume. I can also directly from here fade in and out my volumes by just dragging those little triangles, and I can also modify the way it's coming in by moving this little dot here. Now we're going to modify the brightness of the clip on the timeline. If I want to just let DaVinci Resolve change the color, I can click here and do auto color, and it will auto correct the file. Or I can go to the color correction here, come here to the color bars. Now normally it starts with the color wheels. You can change it to color bars here. So you can modify the shadows, the highlights. You see how it's changing, it's brightening the image. This is saturation. The hue changed the color. I don't really want to do that. I'm going to remove the hue. Contrast. So you have all the necessary. Tint is also going to change the color, the temperature. So you get to really change the information right here. Now we're going to go back to edit. And now I also need to show you everything you can do here on the inspector. So you can zoom in, zoom out. You can change the position of your clip. You can change the anchor point of your clip. You can pitch. You can yaw. You can flip it horizontally. You can flip it vertically. And if you realize that everything you've done is not what you were looking for, you come here to that little circle and you undo all your changes. Now I'm going to click on that to minimize it, and I'm going to go to cropping. You can crop left, crop right, crop top, crop bottom. You can also create a feather on your crop. And you can undo everything. You can do dynamic zoom. Now I'm going to go to my media tool and bring in just an image on top here. And I'm going to show you how it plays now. It's not moving. But if I suddenly select my clip and bring dynamic zoom, you will see how it plays. It automatically creates a zoom, and there is a possibility to do a linear dynamic zoom, to ease in, ease out, and ease in and out. So that's really helpful when you bring in just a static clip into your timeline and immediately have it have a little flare, a little movement. You can also change the composite of your image by coming here. So you can do add, color, color burn, color dodge, darken, and you can do some really nice effects by using that. Once you've created your composite, you can change the opacity. And if you don't want to have any composite, you can click here and that will just momentarily deselect the composite. You can always bring it back here if you want. If you don't want it at all, it's better to just remove all your edits here. But right now I'm gonna just remove the composite here. The speed change cannot be done on this clip because it has no movement. It's not a video clip. Remove the media pool and let's go somewhere that's not affected by anything else. So I'm going to modify the speed of this particular clip. I can make the clip go in reverse, but you have to be careful with reverse. The audio in reverse is never fun. So if you want to modify a clip in reverse and it's attached to the audio, you need to first unlink the audio file. Now if I bring my selection in this and press on freeze, it's going to create a freeze frame right after, meaning that it's going to stay exactly where I had my mouse. So this is how you create a freeze frame. Now I brought him back to the original clip. Now if I want to modify the speed of the clip, you can either ripple timeline it or not. If you do not select ripple timeline and let's say I modify the clip, I can either change the information directly here, I can slide this, or I can just type the number that I want. So this is as 52%. You see how the clip and the timeline do not change. However, if I bring it back to 100% and I change it to ripple timeline and now I modify it, you see how it's automatically moving everything in the timeline. So that's the difference between ripple timeline and not. So I'm gonna remove that and bring it back to 100. You also have stabilization. If your clip is not stable, you can just stabilize it this way. You have lens correction, retime and scaling, and super scale. This is also how you can change your audio. You can change the volume, the pan, the dialogue level, the pitch, the equalizer. Of course, if you want to do more advanced audio editing, you come here to Fairlight and you have a lot more available here with all the effects and a lot of things available. We're going to go back to edit, but you have quite a lot available right here. If you have effects, transitions, everything will make itself available here. In fact, let's go into that. You see, if I click on the effects here, it brings it a lot of tools. You have video transitions, audio transitions, titles is where you will have all your text available. Generators, I use the generator a lot for solid color, but there are a lot of other things that you may be interested in using here. There are some effects here to change your media. Resolve FX blurs, Resolve FX colors, and audio effects. And I will show you that right away, but I have to bring in a video with my voice. So if I go to the audio file and I go to dialogue processor, I can drag it directly into my audio file and it brings this. Now usually what I do is I go to default and female and you will hear the difference. This is how you would bring an audio effect. If you want to bring a video transition, there are a lot of them available here. So let's see if we want to do a band wipe. It immediately shows it to you. You can drag it in between the file and transitions between one and the other. Here allows me to modify the transition. I have all the tools necessary here to change the border, change the color, change the feather, ease. Like you can do a lot of things for here. So let's go here. Okay, I got a zoom blur here. If I go to effect, I can change it as well. Advanced controls. Everything that happens in the inspector is really giving you the power to modify even further everything that you bring into your timeline. Now I'm going to show you how to bring in text. You want to bring in some text here. You go to your title, you pick whatever title you like. So let's say you want that. You're going to drag it right here in your timeline. Now you see, you go back to the inspector, you select it, and Miami Murals. You can change the size of the font, tracking, you can edit all of it here, box color and shape, and then you can go to settings and do again, change the position, zoom in and out, pitch, whatever you want to do, crop, and then you can look at your timeline and it's right there. The last thing, when you're done with your project, you either go to quick export and then you have the ability to export it as a H.264, ProRes. You can send it directly to YouTube and you can sign it here. Vimeo, same thing, Twitter, TikTok, add it to your Dropbox. If you want to get a little bit more advanced, you click here to the page Deliver, and then you can either pick a preset or you do custom export, and then you decide what you want. If you want an MPEG-4, QuickTime, Apple ProRes, H.264. You can choose here the resolution, the frame rate, the quality, and everything else you need. You can go to advanced settings, subtitle settings. Subtitle settings is going to be available only for the paid version. You need to tell it the location. So you want it to go here, open. Now it's all ready to go. You go to add to render queue. It adds it to the queue. You go to render all, and it's going to export your project. And that's pretty much it. There is a million more things I could show you in this video. There is so much that can be done in DaVinci Resolve, which is why most professionals are even leaving Premiere, leaving every other suite to come to DaVinci Resolve. It's just very powerful, and it happens to also be free unless you want the studio version, which is just $300 flat fee. So it's really quite affordable, extremely powerful. I will be putting a lot of videos on DaVinci Resolve, but this is a really good start. Should let you just beginning your project. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel, press like if you enjoyed this video, and stick around. You'll get more information on DaVinci Resolve. Please let me know in the comments below where you're from. You know, it's an amazing, you might be on the other side of the world. Let me know what you think of this video, what you think of DaVinci Resolve, and if there is any tool that's really important to you that you would like to see in a future video. I'll see you around. Have a beautiful day. It's been a pleasure spending this time with you. À bientôt.